Yeah, it looks like it's working. Welcome to another Sunday live chat with today's and every day's special guest, the one, Martin Atkins, the King of Chicago.
Well, how am I the King of Chicago?
Because, well, I would maybe consider Jolly Rogers as your compatriot king.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't know who to label as like the iconic representative of Chicago now. I mean, you've held your base strong.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot going on here now that we're looking into. I mean, probably for the last 8-9 years, looking at community, that which is partially the influence of Dark Matter Coffee, who look at their coffee community between Guatemala and here, and my students in Chicago when I was teaching at SAE, the close community, and yeah, so I'm here. I am still in Chicago, and the neighborhood, and you have to come and visit. But the neighborhood, it's like for 20 years, this theater. Oh no, for 50 years maybe, this 1,100 capacity theater has been derelict, and just like a bad tooth on Halsted Street, you know, like if only this, what a shame, blah, blah, blah. And this development company, this guy, Tyler from Brooklyn, came out, and they're putting $25 million into this place. And it's just down the street, and a bookstore just opened half a block from us at the museum. And it's kind of like, oh, just when I was thinking of maybe ditching,
right.
You know, it's like, oh no, I really kind of want to be here, you know.
What theater would that be that they're restoring?
It's called the Ramova.
Wow.
And so there's this strange thing like forwards into the future, blah, blah, blah. But there's also people who are like, I was the popcorn girl 50 years ago. I sold tickets in the ticket booth, you know, like just craziness in this little community called Bridgeport. Yeah.
It's amazing. You know, we have to surely check in with your daily sort of check-in with Charles Levi. I think that's just amazing, like how you've been there for him. How is Charles doing?
So you just you're catching me a little bit by surprise. Not you, just seeing Charles's face. You know, somebody that get the fuck out of bed coffee, somebody like posted on my Twitter, you know, I don't think it's correct that you're promoting coffee. What? And I'm like, fuck off. I'm not promoting coffee. I say get the fuck out of bed every morning. Charles is in, and that's this new great artwork that Don Moffat commissioned. So Charles is day 16 in the hospital now. Everybody thought he was gone, me included. They put him in an induced coma to try and let the antibiotics work on his infected leg and his sepsis. They tried not to operate on his bleeding stomach, but he went through 19 units of blood. And so they finally operated 2 days ago. I haven't been for 2 days. I've been checking in with Kondo, our crew guy, Wolfie, and Roger, our sax player, who are stopping in to see him. I'm going to go and see him tomorrow. And I mean, the fact that he woke up is amazing. That's Randy Blythe's photograph with my coffee mug in front of it. It's such a great picture of Charles.
Absolutely.
And he will not quit. So for it's kind of interesting. Just like all of my stuff feels like it's overlapping, and I certainly used my music business strategies at the hospital you know, like everybody said, look, he's in the hospital. Don't bother going. It's family only. I'm like, okay, absolutely. They can tell me that to my face, you know. So we drove to the hospital up in Evanston, and armed with Starbucks gift cards for the nurses, you know, for the team. And we didn't get in on that Monday night. That's 2 weeks tomorrow. My goodness. And that Monday night was really difficult because we just thought, well, he's going to pass without having anybody, any contact with anybody. There was no family in town at that point. Tuesday, we got up there and got to see him, and that was harrowing because he was gone. His eyes were rolled back inside of his head, and there was nobody there. A couple of people came up, freaked out. And thank goodness my wife, Katrina, came towards the end of the day because she loves Charles. You know, yeah. So I set up a Charles love line, a Levi love line, just for people to call and leave him a message, as much to make themselves feel good as to make him feel good, because I'm playing him these messages and I think he can hear them, but I don't know that he can hear them. But it's kind of like a snowball rolling down the mountain. For everybody who called and said, oh, I don't know what to say. Well, that was part of 350 calls. So when I'm sitting there by his bed and the nurses are going, what the hell's going on? I'm like, 350 people have called. You better fucking take care of this guy. You know, he's precious shit, you know. And some of the surgeons would come in and go, and you are, you know, this condescending thing. I'm like, I'm his drummer for the last 30 years, you know. And so then I'm playing him these messages and EMF call from England. And I'm like, what the? I'm like, Charles, wake up. EMF's called. I think we've got a gig, you know. Somebody called from Mexico offering him a record deal. So it was almost like eavesdropping, but it wasn't because I had to play the messages. That was the deal. I'll play the messages to him. So, of course, there were a number of what I imagined to be hot babes calling, Charles, it's, you know, baby. And that was hilarious. But then a bunch of people are like, you are the reason I play bass. I'm like, fucking hell, man. And then he woke up last Thursday and I mean, was kind of in and out, but he was talking to people that were leaving messages. So he was smiling, the EMF thing. And then the next call was some guy from Pittsburgh. We shared a salad 20 years ago at a venue in Pennsylvania. And Charles is like, oh yeah, I remember this guy, you know, like, and he did, you know. It's so many messages, like 5 years after we met, you saw us at sound check and you were so nice before the show or after the show. And then, you know, this stuff intellectually, of course, you know this stuff, but sometimes we forget, you know. I'm in the bubble of Pigface, which has got every conceivable person represented within Pigface. But 5 or 6 or 7 people said, when I saw you on stage with Throat Kill Cult or Pigface, as a person of color, I realized for the first time that this was a possible option for me. And I'm like, fuck. And what a blessing for Charles to get to hear this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, yeah. So it's been beautiful. It's been exhausting. You know, when you put those slides up, it's some things just make me stop so I can collect myself. I can extrapolate into the future and see, you know, in my tour manager mode, I know It's the drive from Salt Lake to Seattle. Do all your drugs on that drive because we've got a border crossing. You know, you start to look into the future and predict stuff, and it's very obvious where this is going. For a, you know, to be blessed with 550, 600 people in my band, that's fantastic until everybody starts getting old and dying. And now I look at some pieces in the museum. This thing here is a flyer from the Pittsburgh show where Trent and Olga sang together, and half the people who signed that flyer aren't with us anymore. So it's this kind of everything concentrated all at one time, like what the museum can be more than things on a wall, what my role is, what my responsibilities are, the grind, the family aspect of being in a band, and the joy and the other stuff with that is huge. I mean, I don't have to tell you this stuff, Kevin. When it's heavy as fuck.
Oh yeah.
And we are, I think, by our nature, sensitive people. And so this stuff goes fucking deep, man.
It does. As you say, I don't think it's something we realize when you get into it.
Yeah, right.
How later this will be, and seeing people come and go and all that thing. But it's just amazing that the last time I spoke with you is already 15 months ago, and it's just gone by like this.
Yeah, I would have said it was 6 months ago if you'd asked me.
We were meant to check in again at 6 months, but it's already been a year and 3 months. And I was thinking, like, this time is going by. We've been in the midst of probably the most challenging year ever for musicians. How are you doing?
As a musician, or
how are you feeling? Are you feeling good? Are you good?
I'm my reaction to the pandemic was to go straight online and do classes and memory events, which led to the idea of the museum. So I've been busy and I've been connected, but I had some surgery on my back that is just now I'm starting to see the light at the end of that tunnel. I had a spine fusion, and that just caused more problems. It seemed like I just had some more injections to the left and the right of my fusion. And I'm like, oh, fuck. You know, I'm going to be a lumberjack, you know, or something. So I'm doing good. I'm enjoying my teaching. I'm enjoying doing workshops. Some of Charles's family were in last weekend, and not all of them could visit with him. So I said, well, come to the museum. You know, you should all come to the museum. And my new catchphrase is, we've got whiskey, because we have our own whiskey. And so, of course, people are just like, oh, yes, good idea. So Charles's family, two of his boys, his sister, and some other people came down, and we made Charles Levi t-shirts down in the basement. They got to see Paul Raven's bass rig, Charles's bass, bunch of stuff. We've got candles in front. Oh, I don't know if I can show you. We got candles in front of his bass rig. This is where I'd like demolish everything. There you go. There's his bass rig. Ampeg
SVT?
No, it's a PV.
Oh, it's a PV.
But the speakers are replaced with Black Widows. It's just deadly, just a deadly. It's Raven's rig, and and that the picture that you posted with the "get the fuck out of bed" mug in front of it. I had two of those pictures printed and framed over by the bass rig because I wanted his sons to see how respected Charles is in this building, you know, and he's also on our advisory board, and it just, as his kids were leaving, one of them said, "Is it okay? Could I have a picture of my father?" You know, and his sister's like, "You can't take the picture from the museum," and it's like, look, it's my museum, you know, and I gave each of his kids, and then of course I had to give his 11-year-old my Charles Voodoo doll, like, which Alyssa made that for me, and I was loath to give it up because it was really quite comforting, but it belongs with his 11-year-old, you know. So I could see where here come these problems for all of us, but also here's this kind of celebration and healing that can happen within the museum space. So I guess I'm getting to a different point, you know.
It's how you were doing and what you're thinking about. I mean, it's true to say that, you know, being the ambassador, you're representing, you're taking care of Charles, you're putting the word out, people are coming and connecting because of you and your connection. You always had like this connection, but over the last 15 months, I've realized that you've been in practically every cool band that has ever existed. At least at one point or another. So I'm wondering, like, you know, from everything to anything. I mean, like, what's your takeaway after all this?
Like, I have a different view. Oh, that's Detroit. Yeah. I have a different Jolly Roger, Jody Cox. I have a different view. Yeah. I have a different view of normality, if you like, or acceptable behavior or problems. I think that, you know, I'm sure you're familiar with William Tucker.
Yeah, sure.
And William was chaos in a bucket, you know, as was Raven at times, a different kind of chaos with Raven. But I would choose to be in bands with these difficult but different charismatic individuals. I would choose to be in bands with them than take the easy option. Oh, wow, I think John is wearing a hospital gown. You see that?
Yeah.
The hospital gown's behind me. That hospital gown is, you see it? Not the pill raincoat.
Yeah.
That's the gown he's wearing.
Crazy.
So I guess my question to myself all the time is, well, okay, you've done this, you've done these 5 things. What does that enable next? You know, now I guess Pigface is an example of that. I felt when I started Pigface, like if Pigface was terrible one night, it wouldn't be the end of my career, you know? So if that's where I'm at and I can experiment and take risks, then let's experiment and take risks, you know? The same thing with this museum. It's like, I've got my collection of stuff and it's insane, but what can I do with it? And if I use it to magnetize more things to it, then it becomes something larger than me and broader than me. And in fact, one of the first examples was one of Olga's stage suits from 2015. This guy, Brad, called me up. He's like, I've got one of Olga's stage suits in the closet and my wife hates it. You know, would you like it? I'm like, yeah, well, I'll put it in front of the Fook backdrop by Stephen Gilmore's posters and by Olga's lyrics, handwritten lyrics from Ritalin and some Xerox from the process. And it will be really in a nice little corner. It'll be, you know, Brad, he flew out from San Diego to visit the thing just to make sure we were taking care of it. And we had this big event. Chris Connolly was singing and reading stuff that night. And Brad confided in me. He's like, listen, this is fantastic, but really, my hero is Charles Levi from Throat Kill Cult, at which point he walked in. So, I mean, you know,
That's a museum.
yeah. So I guess I hope that I'm exponentially learning about being in charge of this somehow, whilst no, but being in charge of it is the wrong word. I'm the custodian of this stuff. And in some ways, the custodian of a vibe for people that that's kind of humbling, you know. Plus, I mean, I'm a crazy punk fuck, so it's like, all right, there's my drums from Head Like a Hole, Money's Not Our God, In Case You Didn't Feel Like Showing Up, blah blah. Have a go. And people are like, what? I'm like, I haven't destroyed them. You're not going to, you know, have a go. You know, we've had a hair pop up where Gil Castro came and cut people's hair. We let people go downstairs to the studio and mix Trent singing Suck to cassette. Somebody flew up from Dallas. And it's like, yeah, go ahead, bang on that, have a go. It's like, I want to preserve stuff, but I also want to preserve the vibe and be slightly anarchic, you know.
How does it feel like all of a sudden? I mean, I trip out all the time that all of a sudden everything's 30, 40 years ago.
Oh,
Just like,
yeah. I was like, oh, well, I don't even know if we'll put this in the museum. It's from 2003. I'm like, oh, wait a minute.
yeah.
It's like,
Doesn't have to.
like, and yeah. It's crazy. I just saw something in the Sunday Times magazine, the top 10 packages, album packaging, and there's Metal Box again. So I feel tremendously lucky to have been involved in some of this stuff, to be involved in all of it. You know, I did a single. Oh, there you go.
It never gets old. Oh, trust me, this album ages like fine wine.
Yeah.
So that's something that's the greatest thing, isn't it? It's like when you know that something you've been a part of, like, is aging just so brilliantly, even down to the cover. It was a part of the times that can never be taken away or changed or manipulated. And it's crazy to think that it just, time has just zipped by. And it's over 40 years, isn't it, since Metal Box came out?
79.
And you guys,
79.
Is this what your first gig in America was, like the Granada Theater?
No, we just celebrated it was 82 or 83. And the promoter stopped in and he just kind of went off. Yeah, we got the inside scoop on that show. And Pete Jones called in from England. That was really great to be friends with him again, because for a while that was difficult. But it's crazy that this stuff is still around. It makes me think, like, what album released this year, in 40 years time will somebody be going, hey, and here's this album from, yeah.
Are they being done still, do you think?
I have no clue.
I don't feel it. Like, I mean, I hate to be thinking, God, we're just old now and we don't know what's happening in that same way. But this gut feeling says it isn't happening in the same way. I mean,
it isn't.
Pistol, it was like, and then moving on, it was almost as though you waited for a page change and you got it. You actually got a legitimate page change that, like, people, the first time they heard it, were like, couldn't even get it, and maybe for a couple of years. Pretty
well, I mean, Metal Box and Flowers of Romance was so badly received at the time. I like to think we're one of the reasons that Pitchfork wants to be able to redo their reviews now. I'm like, nah, you got to stand by that stuff, you absolute journalist twats. I'm gonna remind you of these reviews every year on the anniversary. But It's mind-boggling. But so, you know, I understand streaming, downloads and streaming, and of course, we went from vinyl and cassette to CD, and what is this? What's going on? And the digital wars and analog versus digital. But I think we're back at a point now where I just did this with some students. I to try and compete on Spotify for attention, I just think you're completely fucked. 70,000 songs a day are being uploaded. So I had this two bands, Marble Teeth and Riddle. They're both Harrison Riddle. They're both from Decatur, Illinois. And like, yeah, I think the music's on Spotify or whatever, or Bandcamp or whatever. But I had them put 27-inch single sleeves together and make one painting, take a picture and take it apart. And we sold clear lathe cut 7 inches, which cost like $9 each. We sold them for 20 and we sold out. And so we did a second pressing. We sold out. And then they got a review in some magazine because somebody walked into a store and goes, what the hell is this? And liked it and reviewed it. So to me, our game, if it seems frivolous to call it a game because it's fucking warfare, but our game has always been everybody's doing this, understand it, but be over here in the periphery doing something else. So understand what's going on, twist it, reflect it, surf on top of it. So that's always the case, no matter what is happening. I think those things are true. We need to get attention, have people exposed to our music. How do we do it? And I think I've seen working with causes has been fulfilling and fruitful for the artist. Do I care about your music? No, actually, I don't give a fuck. But I care about suicide awareness and prevention, or homeless, or disability rights. You can't not care about disability rights if you talk to Galen Lee for 2 minutes. I care about all of those things. And if you're involved in that, I'll help you in any way I can. And I think that's true of people in general. Like, there is so much music. And at the same time as there's new music, all the old music still exists. So my 13-year-old, I'm like, what is going on in his bedroom? And he's singing along with Can't Buy a Thrill, Steely Dan. He's like, Dad, Steely Dan, Can't Buy a Thrill. So it's not just people, you're not in competition with the other 69,999 songs uploaded to Spotify today. You're in competition with every song ever made. And now of course we're buying vinyl. I just bought him the Steely Dan on vinyl. So it's different, but it's the same.
That's awesome, because like I know a lot of people who really like Steely Dan. Danny Carey, he's a huge Steely Dan freak.
Yeah.
So just when COVID started rolling in, you guys had a tour booked, a Pigface tour booked, and it kind of got shut down, like right as you guys were about to go do your West Coast tour. One of the good things about COVID is that we all got to stay home and see some live streams, and I saw the Pigface show. It was pretty awesome.
Wow.
How are you keeping all these people at bay in the meantime? Is there going to be a reunified Pigface tour coming up?
Well, I think, I love that shot.
I do too. What a great.
What you can't, and there's Andrew Weiss, just like, it's Andrew. And no rehearsals. Somebody said to me, Andrew Weiss is here with bass. What song is he going to play on? I'm like, all of them. So 3 bass players. This is Danny off to my left, just Brad from Chant is off to my right. Leanne is behind me somewhere. But what you can't see on that shot is a pair of hands just right behind me. My crew guy, Fritz. Because, once I start, I could end up anywhere. And God bless him, because I came off the kit like it was a BMX bike in Detroit and fell across one of the monitor wedges. It was pretty bad. And so now it's like, ooh. So to me, it's such chaos. And then here's this pair of hands behind me. Just love that. And there, yeah. And this was,
I guess that's the one before.
This is 2016. Jeff, and there's Charles, Nick, Dirk. Yeah. Wow. Greta. Yeah.
When are we going to see the return of the mega group Pigface?
Well, I think what's going to happen first. Oh my God. He's so nice. These are friends from Decatur, Illinois, and he was just so nice to them. I think before Pigface, I need to lose 20 pounds, get match fit, which is not simple. And I think I'm going to do some shows with Leslie. And so what happens when I play with Leslie is it's like all the other bands I've been in except Pigface. Like all I'm doing is paying attention to the singer. With John, every song was different every night. He would come in across a beat instead of on it, And with Leslie, I don't have to, if I was to punch a mirror ball or start to do this, to me, that would be a shameful thing to do. Not that I would take attention away from Leslie because she's magnetic, but I think it's the drummer's job to do the right thing. In Pigface, it's like setting fire to everything and going mad. With Leslie and Ruby, it's just nailing the beat. I call it auditioning for my next gig. And I see that a bit and I hate it sometimes. Have you seen that? You go and see a drummer and here's this stuff from nowhere. And I'm like, oh my God, is the manager of the next band in the crowd? We're like, that's not right for this song, So we might do like 10 shows next year where I just get to nail it and kick the shit out of my bass drum and hit the rim of the snare. And then we'll look. But I mean, I would have said 6 months ago, 2022 at the latest, but so much from 2021 has been pushed into 2022. I don't know. And I don't know who's listening from what background, but it's not a simple thing to take Pigface out.
I bet.
It's like, okay, immigration is crazy expensive. And there's a bunch of people from different countries. Do people have disposable money? Because without a rush at the merch booth, we're not even going to get close to breaking even.
Yeah.
I'm still paying for the tour in 2019. I'm not worried about it. There are things that chug along that push money into that, but it's not simple. We were supposed to do 6 dates in Chicago around Thanksgiving. And we were going to play a few different albums, the Fook album with the cello. Chris Conley was down. And then Chris Conley said to me, we could be Murder Inc. one night. I'm like, oh my God, this will be brilliant. And then I'm like, okay, what do we do if venues have to go to half capacity? I'm like, well, we'll play twice. We'll do 2 shows. So, okay, I'm going to destroy myself. And then I have my back surgery. And then COVID starts to come back again. And there's weirdness with Germany and England. And I'm just like, this is too many variables, So as much as I didn't want to cancel, we hadn't announced the Thanksgiving dates. We just didn't announce them, and I pulled the holds. But I would like to think end of 2022, something, because I mean, I don't want to sit here slagging on anybody, but there are more members of ministry in Pigface now than there are in ministry. You know, I think there's more members of KMFDM. If Raymond comes out with us, there's more members of KMFDM than KMFDM. So it's like, you know,
That's so true.
And I'm not saying that Pigface is carrying the industrial torch, because we're kind of a crazy jam band, but an industrial jam band. But yeah, I guess my sense is to stay out of the way of all of that. You know, I mean, vinyl production has gone haywire. People
Absolutely.
are talking about like October next year at the earliest for a new pressing. It's like, I mean, all kinds of, you know, supply chain logistics. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Isn't one of the things that you were quoted in saying is the creative problem solving skills are a new job security?
Yeah. But so actually that's somebody at Cisco. And they are, you know, I think I said at the beginning, it's being in Pigface and being in all of these crazy bands that I think allowed me to open a museum and launch it and deal with that, but also to deal with this situation with Charles in a kind of I saw the problem with the nurses station as a marketing problem, as a PR problem, you know, and like, what can I do when I'm not here? You know, like, what can I do online now with Pigface? I don't want to try and recreate Pigface. I can have a different, more intimate conversation with people. How can I make the best of this? And so it's that creative problem solving mindset. If you've been on the road with Skinny Puppy, which of course you have, or Pigface, you'd laugh in the face of adversity. The PA's blown up and everyone's got diarrhea. Okay, what time do we go on? You know, the promoter's been arrested and yeah, okay, what time do we go on? We only have 4 microphones. Yeah, okay. You know, like, you make it work. And you don't realize until you come up against people who have had parameters and guidelines, you know, how unplugged they become when they don't have parameters and guidelines. And our world is be awesome, make it work, whatever it takes.
Whatever it
you
takes.
know, and you know, I've been teaching for almost 20 years, and I've said to people, I believe that music business enables you to grab life by the throat, blah, blah, blah. But I really, really believe it now. You know, I absolutely do.
I love how people are getting the opportunity to go to Millikan University and link with you and learn about things from somebody, as you said, who has learned through adversity and learned through the real challenges. And we're talking the real challenges, you know, and you're putting it all down and making it available for people to get in and study, touring, starting your own MMX, the Midwest Music Expo.
Yeah. We're
And
working on the 5th one. Yeah.
bringing in interesting people that you know are basically the whole concept of learning with you has expanded into seemingly what the calling on earth for Martin Atkins is about.
Well,
We've got the bus station, we've got the.
I mean, that's the craziest thing ever. To like, okay, we're going on the road with Pigface. What are we going to do? And I think most people would say, how can we make it safer? And what I did was booked another bus and filled it with students. And Wendy Day, who got Eminem signed, was a mentor on that bus.
Awesome.
Lee Morin, an attorney in Atlanta, jumped on the bus. I mean, students were like in the middle of it. And in a university setting, when you deal with adversity, you could be like, well, the rubric on the assignment wasn't clear. Can I get an extra few days on the assignment? I had a migraine. When you're on the road, you're on the road. And we had a student crying in his bunk, you know, and it made him stronger in the moment. And he had a bit of a down spell. And I'm like, listen, man, you were on the road with Wendy Day, who got Eminem signed, you know, and I sent him a picture of him and Wendy, like in a heated conversation, you know, and the rolling impact of all of these real moments, as difficult as some of them are, can't be underestimated. You know, once you've done that, you do the next thing, and you do the next thing, and you do the next thing, and you know, laugh in the face of adversity. Somebody said, I posted up a video. Oh, I got to tell you about this pamplemousse thing. I posted a video explaining the program, and somebody said, hey, this looks like fun. I'm like, it isn't. It's a nightmare. But you laugh about it, and you make a T-shirt, and we do it. I took the pamplemousse tour apart.
Yeah, I want to hear about this. This is what should be spoken about. So what the real story is, what they came home losing 12K, and you showed how they turned it around to make 210K.
I said I'm like, I bet if I was involved, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, well, put up or shut up, you know, Martin. And so I'm like, okay. And I looked at the dates and the routing, and there was a description of all their expenses. I'm like, okay. And I went through the tour, and it says I made them 210K. I actually made them 310K. And I didn't do anything outrageous, like, you know, get Tesla involved and have them do a concert on the moon. I mean, we just did some really basic things every day, and we made it work. And I think the end result of using that as an example is people see the end point of these strategies, and they can go back and start to implement some of them for themselves, and implement some more the next time they go out, and start to think differently about all of this stuff. But it was a lot of fun. I like doing that one.
Yeah, it's great for people to learn from somebody who's been through it. I was reading that there are scholarships available for this as well. Is that the case?
Yeah. So it's interesting. You know, Millikan University is just, I mean, it's fucking gorgeous, man. And Decatur itself has some problems, but so did Detroit in the 80s. It doesn't, you know, so did Times Square, New York in the 80s. You know, that stuff doesn't worry me. It says opportunity to me. But we've spent 3 years, because it's a school of music, we had to write a new program that will be accredited through NASM, which is the National Association of Schools of Music. It's kind of like they police programs to make sure that they're effective. And so now you don't have to play an instrument to come into music business, which was not the case for the last 20 years. You had to take piano lessons, ear training, learn how to sight read. And I've spent some time with my colleagues going, you know, I don't read music, neither does Paul McCartney, you know, neither did Jimi Hendrix, you know, they did okay, you know. And so they support this new idea. And they've supported me with the MMX and the label and all of these crazy things that we're doing, and now the museum. And there is at least one, what they call a full ride scholarship, where it's just free, you know. And there's lots of other scholarships. All they want to do is help people get into it. And it's been a long 3 years, but I think they're as enthusiastic as I am now about music business. But and it got me started now. So I see lots of places that they do a music business program, and there's music and there's business. Like, that's not music business. You know, bread and tomatoes does not make you an expert on pizza, you know. And so music business is different, and it's not the counting of the money after the art happens. It's sometimes the strategies that enable the art to happen in the first place. And there's a poetry to it. And it's different. Regular business, you can't do a pay what you want model. You can't do pay what you want with shoes or burgers. You just end up with an empty shoe store and no money, you know. It's been quite an interesting 3 years. And I think now we're ready to really kind of kick it up a notch and have all of these elements. I call them wheels on the bus. The museum here in Chicago. We've got an interesting relationship with a company called TrackLib in Sweden. It's like a loop-based supermarket where you can grab multi-track loops. The horn stabs on J. Cole's Middle Child, that's TrackLib, an unused horn session from the 70s that's now made tens of thousands of dollars, if not more, for all of the rights holders, you know. So lots of interesting things going on, and it feels really kind of, I think it will be triumphant. It's very exciting right now.
Can people get a degree from attending these courses? Or
yeah. It's a bachelor's degree. There's a BA. I think BA can have a musical component. BS, the Bachelor of Science, you don't need to play an instrument. And I'm at pains to tell people, look, I'm not down on music and musicians. I am one. You know, I'm just all about this skill set that facilitates some stuff. So if you want to be a violinist or be a performer, then I can help you sustain, you know, in a very difficult field. If your strategy for success is you're a great guitarist, you're fucked. You are so fucked, because there's a 9-year-old kid in China who's better than you will ever be. You know, but if you've got 5 different skill sets and you're doing all this stuff, then you've got a shot at a sustainable career that can fulfill you and keep things moving.
I think that you hit the nail on the head there. So many people said, would you recommend getting into the music industry? I said, not on your life. But, you know, under your training, I can see how, you know, if you take protection and guard your knowledge and your base, that you could actually maybe survive, as long as you also had another career going on the side.
Well, I would say 5 hustles, like 5, because the stuff that I've been through, what if one of my hustles was cassette tape manufacturer? Yeah, you're fucked, you know, like, I mean, you know, things come and go. Like, for a while, record stores were the hub of most communities, and then they died down, and now they're kind of back, you know, as long as fewer of them, but certainly respected. And I think that I commissioned this triangle, and at the top of the triangle are like 5 people in a band, and then there's 80 other people who work because of the 5 people in the band. And I think that if you're a tour manager, a manager, or in a studio, any of the people who work, a merchandiser, any of the people who work with a band, you can actually have a more sustainable career. As a tour manager, you're just managing a different band next week. And, you know, a band might have an ebb and a flow, a crazy time and a time of where they're dormant. But as a tour manager, you could work 58 weeks out of the year, you know, just with different bands. And I cite examples like the Gallagher, Noel and Liam Gallagher from Oasis, the most successful band on the planet. They didn't jump straight into their band. They went out on the road as crew people with different bands for like 3 or 4 years. And they kind of, I think at one point they said, well, we can fucking do this shit, you know, and they used that. And so I think that if you want to be on stage, you don't have to run straight out into the limelight and go, oh shit. You know, you can kind of skirt around the edges and stealthily accumulate the moves, the knowledge, the mindset to make a go of it when you're ready to make a go of it.
It kind of seemed like, I'll take, for instance, Billie Eilish, like someone who came along with making an album in her home with her brother. Then all of a sudden she's like a multi-million seller and the pressure's on. I think that's got to be a difficult situation too, where somebody's not trained to all of a sudden understand how to deal with some form of success when they get it.
Right. It's very dangerous. I think success now is so fleeting that if you're not careful, you'll just be, you know, you'll be just tying your tie and, you know, wiping the dandruff off your velvet jacket to burst into the room, and everybody's gone because they're on somebody else now. You know, back in the day, you had 3 or 4 albums to get there, and even then, Bruce Springsteen was about to be dropped when he recorded Born to Run, and the label didn't get it, but the manager sent it to a radio station in Cleveland, and they played it, and it got such acclaim that he kind of leveraged the label into forcing Born to Run as a single. So it's always been difficult, and I think that many people think they want to be in the spotlight, and they probably don't. They just know 4 positions to play to be involved in music, which they love. They haven't thought about, you know, if you're the merchandiser, you can be, if you're a smart merchandiser that consults ahead of time, you can be the reason a tour is sustainable, that a band can do another tour and go in the studio and not be in debt. And you still get to go to Barcelona and Japan, and you still get to be involved and see it and feel it and talk to people just in a different way. And there are so many careers within the music business, but I think people just think, oh, I've got to be a singer or a drummer or a guitarist, you know, and then maybe one of their grandparents says, well, if you've got to practice hard and only do that one thing, focus on that one thing. I'm like, no. ADHD is a huge positive. You know, we should all be doing 7 things, spinning all of those plates. In the music business, ADHD is a gift. In the classroom, it's a nightmare. In the music business, it's a gift.
I think for me, personally speaking, I think that when any type of success that we had was overshadowed by not being with it enough to know at that moment that you needed to be a little smarter than you were. And I kind of like feel like I witnessed the time slide by. I mean, Martin, you were there actually at the point. And by the way, since our last chat, I forwarded you the mini series of the process in the house. I was wondering like how that struck you, that thing. Were you aware that you were witnessing a band in its greatest moment of turmoil?
Well, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Do you? Yeah. But to me, one of the easy thing, I mean, it was difficult. But an easy thing to me, which I think came from my experience with PIL in New York, that there was an organizational problem. There were 80 songs. And I'm like, what are we doing? You know, so you know, everybody, there was enthusiasm and of course, so much talent, right? From you and Dwayne and Kevin and Ken, you know, everybody. But like you're working on a song, I'm like, well, we need 15 finished, you know, like I think I spent a week working on a spreadsheet that was just, what are all of these songs? Which ones need vocals? Which ones have got vocals that might need something else? Because then they'd be done. So, and I think at one point, I remember I went off for an afternoon. I was better friends with Trent then. And he was at that house making an album in the hill. Everybody was making an album in the hills. And I came back in a mood. Well, I wasn't in a mood. I was in a theatrical mood. And eventually somebody said, "What's the matter with you?" And I'm like, it doesn't matter. I don't want to talk about it. And which of course made everybody like, no, you can tell us, Martin. I'm like, fuck Trent Reznor, man. Fuck that guy. He doesn't know what's going on, right? And people are like, what's happened? I'm like, he said this band's over. He's wrong. Fuck him. And of course, I hadn't seen Trent, and he didn't say that. But I was trying to like unite everybody to like, we'll fucking show that guy. I mean, it was, and I was waiting for someone to say, "This is Shakespeare, Henry V, Fourth Part 2, you asshole," you know. But everyone's like, "Fuck him," you know. But to me, that there was some simple things that I wanted to do while we were working on that album, and I remember this all very well. I said to someone who was managing you at the time, I'm like, "Hey, I'm watching the flow of the day, and I get up and I'll go and have some breakfast, and I'll come back, and just as I get back, somebody else says, 'Hey, we're just off for breakfast. We'll see you in a bit,' which meant 2 hours in Malibu. So until noon, there's just, I don't know what's going on. And then same thing in the evening, people would want to get out of the house and go and eat somewhere, which is 2 hours, but then it's 3 or 4 hours as people go at different times. And I said, look, I bet everybody in this house would put a little bit of money in a pot. Let's have a chef come in and just make spaghetti, and we'll all be around the table, and it won't always be pleasant, but I've seen conversations around a table solve problems, arrangement problems within songs in the studio better than working in a studio. And I think just also, I mean, you bounced up to a major label, and that's another skill set right there, you know. And if it's any consolation, when Pill bounced up to a major label, John went to the meeting with Elektra Records, and it was just a strategy. All John needed to do was just be John, not too much. And he said something so horrible to the person at reception, they broke into tears. And at that point, our career on Elektra Records was over. All people were like, "What did you say? What's happened?" And that was the whole meeting, was this guy's an asshole. If he did that here, what is he going to do at every radio station across the country? And so there are so many other skills necessary, you know, to navigate that world. And
now, thankfully, they are again another 30 years ago almost. Can you believe that?
Really?
Well, in 2 years, yeah, it'll be 30 years. It's 28 years. I guess that's close enough. But now, you know,
Wow.
It's like,
Wow.
when you take circumstances like that and you're learning from these things, and like you with your so many bands, like you probably witnessed the dynamics of so many bands and wondered, oh, well, this, that, and put it all together in such a way that must be interesting for you when you're inside now and saying, well, here's another super group I'm in, and here's the inner workings of this band.
Well, yeah. But maybe it's not getting easier. What am I talking about? But the surprises still happen. I don't know if you know Randy Blythe from Lamb of God.
Don't know him personally. I know that he's singing for Pigface in the last tour.
Well, he came out for 2 shows because Mary Biker forgot that he had a festival in England with gay bikers or Pop Will Eat Itself or whatever. I'm like, for fuck's sake, Mary, And so Greta, the bass player, she was in Germany. She's like, well, I know this kid in Richmond. I think he'd do it. I'm like, okay, well, who is he? What's he done? And he's like, well, he's a singer in Lamb of God, but he plays Pigface all the time on his radio show. I'm like, okay, it's only 2 shows, whatever. Well, he walked, and then, of course, you look and you go, well, hold on a minute. This band's selling out stadiums around the world, And he walked into rehearsals, and your good friend Oga's track, Tapeworm, on the Gob album, like that to me, that's like Oga's track, And he walked in and just annihilated it, like just tingles. I'm actually getting tingles now, and so like, oh, okay, wow. But then more so than that, we were in Baltimore. I was still on the bus, and a couple of people had gone into the venue, and I get this text. It's Randy. Put your laundry together. There's a washer and dryer next to the dressing room. He's doing people's laundry, So it changes the next set of people you put together. I want to be in a band with crazy lunatics who are also, are there for each other.
Right.
And
very, very true.
And it's just been glorious. And then after 2 shows, this is the wonderful world of Pigface, right? After 2 shows, Randy's says, well, I'm not going home. This is the most fun I've ever had. And it's like, oh, okay then, so I'm just a ringmaster. Ringmaster is not the right word. It's like a downhill water slide. I just get to direct some of the current, take off a little bit of excess water if the water's too close to the top and somebody's life raft is in danger of going over the side. But then everybody came to me at different times on that tour, and they said, look, I know you're all about chaos, Martin, but we've been working really hard on the vocal harmonies. And everybody had. I mean, there were times in Pigface where it's just like, we don't know what we're doing. Fuck you, But people were really taking care to do as much as they could to make it better in their minds, And they said, could you, no surprises in Chicago, please. I'm like, well, I don't know what I said, but then I remembered that I had add to this rapper called Andre. His last album is called Jim Crow the Musical. It's fantastic. He works with students and artists on the south side of Chicago at a studio called The Haven. And he was sending 4 of his students to come and join us and pass the mic in the middle of Hips, Tips, Lips, Power. And I didn't feel I could even tell anybody in the band, hey, watch out on Hips, Tits. I just had these kids come out and pass the mic, and it was fucking amazing. And so if I'd asked everybody, they would have said, it's a good idea, but please don't do it because this is the last show. But afterwards, they all said, this was our favorite moment of the entire tour, So I guess that's a trusted position of being challenging to people, being challenging to myself, being challenging to the audience, and keeping some kind of thread of Pigface through it.
Absolutely. And then now you become historical and now we got a place to put it. The Museum of Post-Punk and Industrial,
Yeah.
where we
Oh
can
my. Yeah.
you can now say that all those years now can become collected. And I hope it continues where other other components will come in. Like, say for instance, I should contribute to this museum, and other people from the other bands that you played with.
Well, I would love you to. Are you on our advisory board? Would you consider being on the advisory board?
Absolutely.
I mean, I think
I don't
that
know what's entailed in the advisory board, but I could do
well,
whatever.
well, me either, But I mean, I know enough to know it can't just be me. Oh, those are the photographs of Charles that we gave to his sons. If you, oh, this is right where I'm sitting, the Killing Joke scenery and test department, the only constant thing is change. I mean, there are so many things that we've, Kozik's first poster was a Pigface poster.
Really?
This is the handwritten lyrics to Suck from Trent. This, you can't see this. This is the contract. Oh, this is a glorious flyer. Somebody just sent this to me. They sent me a picture. I'm like, God, I feel like this belongs in the museum. Okay, here you go. I put it in the mail for you. Boom, boom. But
I see Ogre on there. I see Trent,
Chris Conley, Raven,
wow,
William Tucker, Bill Rieflin.
People not with us. That's 3 people not with us, right?
Yeah, it's tough. But I forgot that we worked with Chris and Cozy.
Oh, wow, really?
We did shirts for them. I don't know if you can see this. It's up these stairs can you see that? Oh,
here, I'll back to this.
Can you see that there?
Let's see, which one?
Well, can you see that where there? That's the Chris and Cozy logo, right?
Yeah.
Well, below that is like one of those tracing paper drawings that you would send to the t-shirt people that freaking Stephen Gilmore did. Like, I posted a picture, and Stephen, and we have Rabies and the Process, what do you call it, seriograph poster artwork up in the front.
Let's look at some stuff here.
These worlds are kind of crazily connected. We did shirts for the legendary Pink Dots. Of course, my connection with Genesis is pretty deep, and Psychic TV and through Pigface, Neubauten, Test Department,
everyone,
Thrill Kill Cult. I mean, it's just
basically.
I've
been thinking about it. You can't name a band that somewhere along the way you haven't been involved with practically.
Did you know? Oh, I love this. This is the sign from the dressing room door on Bandstand that I stole. There's a picture of me holding the sign. Just crazy stuff. Did you know I played on a song with M?
What, pop music?
No, not pop music. Like the shit song after pop music.
Oh wow!
This is my cup from the BBC from the John Peel session '79. That's the tape that was supposed to seal the metal box. A trumpet I bought in Paris that's on the Flowers of Romance album. And of course, at some point, there should be a button that will play. There should be screens all over the place. Oh, here's Ogre's stage suit from 2015 and Stephen Gilmore's pieces and the Fook backdrop that Tim Gore did. Your friend Tim Gore in '92.
Legendary Tim Gore. Martin, one thing I really love about the Flowers of Romance is when that album came along, it really was, if you think about it, one of the first albums where the drums are really one of the lead instruments.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't intentional. We just lost Jar Wobble. And yeah. I think the smart thing to do, that's the first t-shirt I printed, the security, this one, this suit here. Can you see my arrow? No.
Can I see what?
My arrow on my screen? No, you can't, can you? So no. The pill raincoat with the green suit to the right of it, that suit was made by Sandy Powell. Um, she did the last 5 projects with Scorsese, but in 1979, she was the partner of the bass player in a band who my school friend was producing. And she made that suit for me.
Classic.
Just there's lots of kind of fashion crossover. Trent's passport photographs, top left, from when we put the collage picture together for the beginning of Pigface. I'm like, why do I have Trent's passport photographs?
Have you had that Pearl drum kit all along?
Yeah, well, I had, they gave me 2 kits. But yeah, that's
A red one and a black one, wasn't there?
no, the red one was a Rogers kit,
Rogers,
which
yeah.
I hated. But I've had the pearls since '83. We're trying to fuck with the idea of a museum, so we did a whiskey pancake brunch to coincide with Cold Waves, and it was just fantastic to hang out with people and eat pancakes. And we came up with a prosecco, orange juice mimosa with apricot preserves and a shot of museum whiskey.
Oh, wow.
Which people liked a lot. I've got to show you this. Hold on a sec.
Official industrial pancakes. Oops, Martin has disappeared. He's gone to get us some pancakes.
So I'm 8 months sober right now, but we have our own whiskey, acid-free, industrial whiskey for industrial people. And this is 18th Street Distillery, which is one of only 3 Black-owned distilleries in the country.
Wow.
And Drew has just gifted us 100 bottles of museum whiskey. And he's put aside some 2-year bourbon for the museum bourbon. I'm like, I'm not drinking. He's like, yeah, we just want to support the museum. It even says on the bottle, I'm celebrating soberly at the moment, but I understand the ceremony of doing shots and toasting, long lost friends and all the rest of that, and the community around some rituals with alcohol, So yeah, it's fucking crazy, man.
What's this?
Oh my goodness. So this is a Crew from the Metro, right? And this is the Fook backdrop from 1992. It's actually signed by Tim Gore. And at this time, when Ogre was out with Pigface, Tim Gore would come out, visit, and then anything you would touch in the bus had a shrunken latex voodoo head attached to it. And there'd be like dead cats with their ribs showing, puking, made out of latex everywhere, So you're kind of crawling around this semi-dark bus, freaking out at every moment. Yeah, this is in the foyer.
Tim did some great stuff. Did he make that while he was on the road, or did he bring that?
No, he came to Chicago, and I told him some of this stuff is screen printed scars, right?
Yeah.
And Mike Vinicore, one of our street team kids, is still friends with Tim to this day after making this with him in '92. And he would make these latex pieces and send them to be glued. And then I think came out with this, the Fook twins, and riveted it into the canvas backdrop.
That's incredible.
There are 3 pieces total. And then Eric Gladstone, who used to be a journalist for Alternative Press, had a book come out, and he describes being at the loft where Invisible Records used to be on Wabash Avenue. And he's describing craziness is going on. Someone's printing T-shirts over here. Somebody else is creating the Fook backdrop. They said Ogre was in the corner signing posters, and William Tucker was in the studio neatening up samples. And it was just reminded me of the chaos that we used to create. It's still the same when we go out on the road. You can see in the back here, this is a small part of the Gub backdrop with a triangle in the middle. There's another piece to the left, another piece to the right, and it goes up another 20 feet high. And the lights that say shit.
Yeah, I love those.
I love it when it was 1,100 people and it's triumphant and nobody sees. It's just Christmas tree lights on chicken wire, and then suddenly shit.
That's so
It's
awesome.
like, yeah, it's pretty punk. It's like Undertones, 1979. The Undertones are shit. Yeah.
I've always loved the way your stages look, and the
Oh, thanks.
drum bar, and
Oh,
man,
and this is the table that we set for the whiskey pancake brunch. And I decided in that moment, we're doing Thanksgiving dinner here for family, and whatever family needs. If Charles is out of the hospital, then of course he'll be at the head of the table. And I love what is on the walls, but I also love when other things happen within the walls.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Where can people visit this museum?
Well, this is Bootblacks. When the Bootblacks came to visit, we're in the vicinity of 33rd and Halsted in Chicago. That's our hair pop-up. So it's by appointment. So we're just about to set up a Calendly where I can choose a day, or people can choose a 2-hour window on a day. We're trying to be conscious of any events that are happening in town. Like I think we were going to do something for the ministry show, but then the ministry show got pushed back, and we did something for Riot Fest and for Cold Waves. So if anybody's like coming in from out of town for something else, send me a message, martin.atkins1979@gmail.com. And I like it to be founders, really. The founders have paid a small price to support this in the beginning from April onwards. So founders can come anytime they want, as long as I'm around. Oh, you want to go back a slide, Kev? This this is our new coffee with dark matter coffee.
Nice.
And this is a screen printed sandpaper bag.
Oh.
So this harkens back to a release from Duritty Column on Factory Records in 1980, where the vinyl album has a sandpaper sleeve. And the idea was that it would destroy the album to the left and the album to the right. And members of Joy Division helped to glue the sandpaper on. I've got one over there. And it's like, wow, this is amazing. Except that Joy Division didn't think of the idea. A situationist called Guy Debord did it with his book in 1959, Sandpaper Sleeve. So that's like, hey, welcome to the museum. You just learned about a bunch of stuff. And it opens a window for me of inspiration for people moving forwards. Although we do look backwards and respect the past, to me, this is more about creativity and inspiration moving forwards on this solid foundation, rather than just listing all of the things from the past, sealed in some kind of epoxy, So this coffee should be coming out soon, and Dark Matter are giving us this $5,000 espresso machine for the foyer.
I gotta visit.
Yeah, well, so here's the thing: where I'm sitting, it's not luxury. We do have. This room is amazing. We've got I don't know if you can see the sheep on drugs. I mean, you could have a go on my drums, or maybe you could book like a 9 a.m. alarm call, and I'll sneak in the back door. Boom, 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 bam. Right. So you're very welcome to spend a night. I love the idea. So there's 3 remotes, and you can turn off all the lights, maybe leave the mirror ball, you know, one by one, and turn them all on again and turn them all off again. It's a magical place for sure.
No shows yet there.
Huh?
Can you do shows there?
Well, Chris Connolly did a thing. I think I want to do something with Leslie. I think we might do like a residency with Ruby. The studio is downstairs. So,
Okay, it could be recorded.
Yeah, very easily. I mean, I have Albini's tape machines downstairs, so we could do drums to 1/2-inch tape. But we also have the PreSonus Studio 64 thing as well. Hey, so
Do those make it?
yeah,
Yeah.
And from Jolly Roger, and people say, yeah, is there a bathroom? I'm like, yeah, skinny puppy dressing room. So the skinny puppy dressing room sign is on the bathroom door. Jim just handed me some stuff. Hold on a second.
Oh, there it is, the skinny puppy dressing room. Lots of stuff to see. Is Jolly Roger?
I've got to tell you about this piece as well. This is test department. When we brought them over in '97, they went straight to the scrapyard and got these hubcaps,
Nice.
and then stole pieces of the ministry cage from me, which that's what this is, to create the hubcap marimba, and that's above the door in the front. Jim, my friend Jim, my tech, who's also done a lot of the hanging, he just brought this up for me.
What you got there, Jim? Looks like he's got himself a Metro.
Oh, I can't hear you, Kev. Did I
Metro
lose
10th
you?
year anniversary.
Did I hit a button?
Oh yeah, I think Metro.
Oh, I lost you.
You lost me?
I lost your audio, Kev.
You lost my audio. Let's check here. Check.
Hello?
Check.
Did I hit the button?
You must have hit a button.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
It was me. Yeah.
So, one thing about the Metro is they were known to film shows, and they also filmed a fantastic Pigface show there too.
Oh yeah. I don't know what's that.
Wow, what's that from? Jim, we got to talk.
Hey Jim.
Jim, can you send me a dub?
Jim.
Send me a dub, Jim. Oh, okay. That's some bootlegs. Yeah, Choose Life.
What's this, Jim?
You got to get these digitized, Jim.
Oh, see, that's the next thing. So yeah, but what is it?
It's the videotape.
Videotape of what? It's a videotape.
It's a videotape of.
No, but what's this?
couple
What's
of
this
live
one?
shows.
This one is Dig It, Stairs and Flowers, Texture, Warlock, and Spasmolytic.
But that would be the videos then.
Oh, Capitol Records.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't see that.
That's a capital.
Can you see
That's
that?
official. Yeah, that's official.
I just thought this you're talking Kenny.
Wow. Holy
The
shit.
other one-
Well,
the-
see,
10th anniversary
That-
Metro.
that's the other thing that's going on, which is glorious. Two things, and if I forget, and I tell you that just because I might forget. We did the 40th anniversary of the Granada show with PIL. The promoter came, and there's a band called The Embarrassment from Kansas that opened up for us, and
Great
I'm like,
name.
hey, yeah. And they're on the ticket and everything. I'm like, hey, do you have any photographs from that night? And they're like, no, nobody had a camera back then. Nobody carried cameras in the 80s. And but then halfway through, he says, oh, hold on a minute. We were doing an audio tour diary and we recorded your sound check. I'm like, well, for fuck's sake, man, send me that. And then a few days before, somebody sent me an email and said, will you be playing the live recording I sent to you 5 years ago? I'm like, fuck, I have no idea where it is. I found it in a box, and Tom, my studio guy, lightly mastered it. and it sounded amazing. I've had some bad things to say about Keith Levine here and there, but he was unbelievable that night. He was off, and we were jamming certain places, and he would just invert things and go off on a tangent. It was kind of stunning. So the audio archives here are kind of the next thing to deal with. They're extensive from the label for the live recordings. I've got both nights in Paris with Pill, both nights in Tokyo with Pill, all kinds of outtakes and different mixes. I have all of the Commercial Zone. Oh, there you go. Yeah.
This is a great album. Your first gig with Pill.
My
This
first gig.
great album, I gotta say. I actually love this version of Careering. Like, it's one of my favorites. It's so good. And Keith Levine, man, that version of Radio 4 on is it called Radio 4?
Yeah.
I mean, that he did is pretty amazing. It's just heavenly.
Well, and I actually, it's strange. We've had a couple of conversations recently, and I emailed him the day after the Granada event. It was only like 6-7 weeks ago. I said, "Hey, Keith, I don't know if this email is even good for you anymore, but last night we pulled up the tapes from the Granada show in '83. You were fucking amazing, man." And he just sent me a nice email back, you know. And then the other thing that happened with Eric Gladstone, who has this new book coming out, we were talking about the first Pill tour and, you know, American Bandstand, but John and Keith did the Tomorrow show with Tom Snyder.
Yeah.
And it was insane. And Eric says, "Oh, Tom said at the end of the show, yeah, I've been asked to say this. Anybody who wants a transcript of the show, send 10 cents to this address and we'll send one to you." And Eric did, and he has a transcript from the show. I'm like,
That's crazy.
so he's sending me that for the music. Just kind of crazy stuff, you know, that some people are just gonna like spend 2 days here just going through stuff.
It's historical now.
Yeah.
Exit's gone, right?
Exit's gone. Yeah.
Yeah,
So much Killing Joke stuff. Oh, and in the middle there, right in the very middle of that slide, is the 2-page itinerary from Paris. Pick up at John's house, blah, 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 Hotel Brabant, Paris. And then at the end, at the bottom of that first page, it says the radio station, I've forgotten the name of the radio station, will be recording the show. And that was the recording that became Paris au Printemps.
Wow. Did you get a copy of that recording from the Granada Theater from your buddy? I mean, as far as I doubt it hasn't been released, right?
No, I mean, I've got so much stuff.
Yeah.
There were 17 rolls of 2-inch tape from the studio in New York that became part of Commercial Zone. And then some of that became, this is what you want, this is what you get. And I have got cassette dubs of every one of those 2-inch tape reels.
Nice.
It's like, it's insane. It's me and Genesis.
Gotta miss Jen, man.
Yeah, it's difficult to underestimate his role, their role, I'm sorry, in Pigface. Showing up at the first show with 6 tape machines. I'm like, what are you doing? You know, like, yeah, I'm not sure yet, you know. And he just changed the songs with these loops and cassettes that he had, you know, and he made it easier for me. I'm sorry, they made it easier for me to explain Pigface to other people. So then Jim Thirlwell is like, how does this song, I've got the lyrics, how does this song go? And I'm like, I don't know how it goes with you, Jim. Do whatever you want, mate. And that came from Genesis and his lack of fear of unknown territory, especially on stage. You know, I think some people react to the fear of being on stage with over rehearsing and over preparing, and then you're just robots. You know, Pigface was kind of the opposite. We prepare some of the technical things, let the other things just go. This raincoat, you can see the raincoat. There's a picture behind the raincoat of someone wearing the raincoat with John helping them into the vehicle. It's my friend Betsy Sherman, who is one of the first items that was sent to us for the museum.
That's
She
awesome.
she made that raincoat and went out drinking with us. 1980, we were in the States for the first 2 days ever. And she worked across the street from the Lenox Hotel.
I think-
Lived,
In great
Huh?
shape for a jacket that's that old.
yeah, it's a little bit dirty on the front,
Yeah.
but yeah, and so super cool. And the photographer, Phil and Flash, actually he's from Boston. He lives in Chicago now and came down and donated a couple of the actual prints to us. Yeah.
I don't know who that guy is.
Wow. So this is one of the reasons this has been a harrowing week. I called Jimmy Marcus. Oh no, Jimmy Marcus called me. I don't know if, do you know Jimmy from D Warsaw? And he's like, oh, I'm in the hospital. I'm like, well, tell Charles I said hello and blah, 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 blah. He's like, I'm not in that hospital. I'm like, well, what are you doing in the fucking hospital? He'd had a small seizure. So I'm like, okay. 2 hours later, which leads me to this photograph, we were hosting Michael Alago here at the museum. He was going to read from his books, exhibit some of his photographs, talk about his time signing Metallica, working with Nina Simone. And he was in the emergency room on Friday with he said he had a very confusing day. I'm like, okay, well, don't we all? But he had an incident. So we've had to postpone Michael. But he sent these prints to exhibit. I didn't know he knew Al, but I guess he does.
That's in the museum.
Yeah.
And there's someone from our buddy Stephen Gilmore.
Yeah.
Couple of his wonderful works. I tried to get Stephen Gilmore to chat on here for a year and a half, but he's shy. Stephen, come on. You got so much good work.
You know, something you were saying before about, maybe we'd missed a certain point in our careers and we were too busy doing one thing to bask in it, to enjoy it, to even fully realize what we were doing.
Yeah.
And for me, I spent quite a bit of time drunk. I had 16 years sober, but in the early days, I was drunk as fuck. I had prescription speed in a bag with a prescription from a doctor on Harley Street, so I could carry. And but basically for me, I was shy. I was just shy as fuck. And it takes an effort for me. If I go out and do a speaking gig, I'll be like, in the early days of my speaking gig, I'd speak and I'd go to my hotel room and like, that's not what the gig is. When you go somewhere and speak, they want you to speak and then mingle and go to the party afterwards. And, and so it takes an effort for me to steel myself, and I get better at it now, but I'm fucking 62. And so shyness, I talk to my students about this all the time. Like, hey, who's shy? Who's too shy to put their hands up to say they're shy? I don't know if you're shy, but
Oh, yeah.
just debilitating, and then of course people think like, what an asshole, he won't come down.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm in my room being shy.
If they only knew.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to juggle sometimes, especially if you got something going on and then somebody runs up and wants, the innocent sort of meeting, and they don't realize that you're running to a phone because you've heard there's an emergency and you got to get there. And it's like, okay, just wait a sec.
Yeah.
You can't, you got to, I don't know, you always got to try and think twice in those moments.
And I think one thing I've learned is somebody would say to me, what a fucking amazing show, Pill, Killing Joke, whatever. And I'd be like, actually it wasn't. And here's why. Like, why would I do that? For that person, they didn't know, like the
Right.
whole middle of the third song was a catastrophe and my bass drum pedal exploded and Geordie's guitar was out of tune or whatever. and now I just go, thank you. So
Yes.
I'm really pleased you enjoyed it. You never know what is going to be important to anybody for whatever reason.
Yeah, we become overly critical of the performance, especially in the first 30 minutes after coming off stage. If there
Yeah.
was a problem, you're quite often fuming about that, and someone
Yeah.
will tap you on the shoulder, and it'd be your opportunity to say, "Yeah, well, the fucking monitors sucked."
Yeah. Well, that's just a given.
Yeah, that's a given. I don't know. People should check out the first chat that we did from July of last year, because we really explore like the beginnings of Pill and like how we met and everything like that. And it's a really cool story. And I don't want to retrace the same thing because then it kind of makes it a bit redundant. But one thing that I found was really cool was the Public Images Rotten documentary that I saw over the last 6 months. And I was wondering what your feeling was on it. It's really answers quite a few questions, I thought.
Well, I think it mainly answers the question, how amazing was Johnny Rotten at every single phase of his career, answered by himself. I was happy to be involved in it. I loved the first hour. I mean,
the first hour was amazing.
Before I'm in it, just to like, because I was living in London, and the first time I heard Public Image, the bass wobbles, the hair stood up on the back of my neck. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And I know they played 2 nights at the Rainbow at a time when everything was closed in London. And I don't know why we didn't go, because we were there driving around in our van. We might have had a gig as a cover band in London. And of course, I enjoyed seeing Wobble and Pete. I think it was scandalous, really, that Keith Levine wasn't in it. Neither was Larry White. And I think, or Jeanette Lee. And I don't think Jeanette wanted to be in it. I've spoken with her a few times. I saw her in Manchester last time I was there. But maybe Keith Levine was like, oh, fuck off. Somebody needed to go to wherever Keith was and get him to be in it. It was great to see Jim Walker, and great to see that. The other thing that happened, which I really loved, this synchronicity thing. So my friends Jeff and Margot, who played in my band Brian Brain, and Margot was a co-founder of the Go-Go's, they're in New York. I'm like, you got to come and see I was at the Tribeca premiere of this. And I had one spare ticket, and I called Felice Rosser, who's always been a friend of mine from New York. I said, Felice, come to this thing with us. And so we're all sat there, and she's in it. The great Gildersleeves footage. She jumped on stage in an orange shirt and she's dancing, and I'm like, fucking hell, and she's sitting there next to me. And it was so correct that she was there, I enjoyed it. I think it was 25 minutes too long.
Yeah, maybe a bit, but I thought the parts where you were involved and that historical section of the classic Pill era was really interesting.
Yeah, and do you know Scott Firth, the bass player now? That's Leslie Rankine's brother.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's like
small world theory over and over.
It's ridiculous. There was one thing. There's one thing where I didn't like. It was when the new band gets together and they're basically like, what's going on? The songs are always different. We've got to stop that shit. And one of them actually says to the camera, we had to put a stop to that shit, and get these arrangements sorted out. I'm like, well, that it was dangerous. Sometimes this religion will be 8 minutes long. Sometimes it will be 4 minutes long. Sometimes chant will be 20 BPM faster. If we were on stage with riot police and German shepherds keeping the audience back, or riot police on horseback and helicopters outside, Our fucking chant was a war cry, was a threat to the audience. Like, fucking come on stage, anybody. And so to smooth it all out was to, so we didn't jam in a Pigface way, although sometimes we did, but we jammed in a situational way. Like if John grabbed somebody from the audience because they were being beaten up to sing, or John was getting spit out of his face or whatever, the songs would remain fluid. If there was some aspect that was interesting, those would visually, then things would be elongated. And I just didn't think it was, it wasn't a shortcoming of John's or the band's that the songs were always different. It kept the lighting guy on his toes. There was never a set list either. I mean, I think the show in Chicago that I heard, 2 songs in, you hear like stuff you'd normally hear from a band after 90 minutes. What should we do next? I'm like, we're 2 songs in. We didn't decide, here's 5 songs and then we'll wing it. No, 2 songs in. What should we do? You're like, okay.
Did that happen? Did you go on with only 2 songs, like, and then we'll call it out?
We never had a set list.
Oh, wow. So it's like just discuss it on stage.
See what the vibe is. And
wow. Interesting.
So, I mean, that was definitely something that allowed me to be more comfortable with the unknown on stage with Pigface. Yeah. In fact, there used to be 2 songs on the set list with Pigface called Riff du Jour 1, Riff du Jour 2. We just make up a riff, go with it.
Speaking of like songs like that, is there anything on this that is from that period we haven't heard, or is there anything that's unreleased that would ever come up that would be something that, you know, is there anything from the vault that you, as far as you know?
No, and John knows about my vault.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a song called Vampire from the Flowers sessions. That it's the same kind of template, if you like. I would play drums to something other than a click. So I drank Perrier, recorded at 15 ips, and then play back at 1 3/4 ips. So it's like, and I'm like, oh, fucking hell. It's like Jurassic Park, 20 years before Jurassic Park existed. And I played drums to that. And they put that might be on that chocolate box looking release they did. But, and I played it. I'm like, for fuck's sake, I've got a version of Vampire with fully formed vocals, guitar, and keyboards. It's a song. Like, what? Call me.
Yeah, call you.
You know, please. Like, yeah.
Come on, John. We need your energy positive back. And by the way, I keep showing this picture because look at that Death Disco shirt.
That's a really cool shirt. I have.
Where is
Death?
That?
Huh?
These are our friends from Barsai in Japan. Yours and my buddies.
Yukio.
But that Death Disco shirt, like, is that like cool or is that something new?
That's a bootleg.
That's a bootleg. Oh wow.
Yeah, I mean, I had one from. There's a sticker with the Red Pill logo and black, and it's clear. It's fantastic on a car window. You know, I mean, and honestly, Kev, if you come out here, we could sit for a night. I'll have Tom prepare some stuff so I'm not fucking around with tape players and let me find this session. Where's the hard drive? I'll play you some shit that you'll just freak out, man.
I would love to, and you know, as a genuine fan, I wouldn't be sitting there going, you know, this isn't outside of my interest. I would be genuinely interested to hear that.
Yeah.
Anything that you got, like, you know, those type of like outtakes where you're jamming on riff 1 or riff 2. I think that would be fantastic to hear that stuff.
Yeah. I tell you something else I have, which made me cry, which it doesn't take much these days, to be honest. Mike Vinicore, who worked on the Fook backdrop up front, he donated a 2 Dark Park poster and another poster that's also up in the front by the suit and all that stuff. And recently had a heart attack and a few other things. I'm like, you know what? Come down. I'll play you a couple of things in the studio. His friend helped digitize my Paris tape from both nights. I'm like, oh, here we go. I found a cassette with a mix of, I'm not sure what this, if I sing you this song, you'll know the title. Da 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 da. At the time again, I live in light. Is that Candle?
I don't know.
Well, the song that has strings on it from Malibu.
It could be Cult.
Cult. It was Cult.
Yeah, Cult.
And it was a monitor mix as the strings had been laid down. And so it's almost like a puppy unplugged. Yeah, the strings are quite predominant, and it just, for so many reasons, it just killed me. And if you don't have that stuff, of course, I'll dub that stuff off for you.
I remember Ogre was incredibly moved by completing that song. I think that was the first song that he felt he completed the full vocal in the house, and he was pretty ecstatic at that moment. I remember. Yeah, those type of things are they're time capsules now.
Yeah,
as you say, when you heard like the recording from something that you did and you've never heard it before, it's like all of a sudden just like an instant time capsule opening for us.
Mm-hmm.
Martin, thank you so much for also sending me the video. You sent me a wonderful birthday video for 60 years of age. You're a sweetheart. I really want to thank you for joining us today. You're always like the greatest guy to talk to, never ending story. People need to get out there and buy some fucking get the fuck out of bed coffee, industrial strength Pigface, and then the new one, the post-punk and industrial sandpaper coffee.
The museum coffee, yeah.
Can you get that at your big cartel shop?
I maybe, but I think it's going to be through Dark Matter primarily, but we'll have some signed numbered bags. And I just want to point out the industrial strength Pigface coffee, that's the beginning of 2019, maybe even the end of 2018. The coffee we did with Dark Matter, it predates the Ministry tour, just in case anybody thinks we were like, yeah. I had this whole kind of hilarious Ripple video where has Pigface industrial strength coffee, and then it says Ministry, and it's some Folgers Crystals decaf, and it was so funny that I daredn't post it. Because it was just so fucking hilarious.
There was some pretty hilarious memes that came out as a result of the change of the.
Yeah.
We don't have to go into that, but
yeah.
That's how life works sometimes. But Martin, I think the real industrial strength tour is when you're going to be hitting the road again with Pigface and the whole crew, and I can't wait.
And I don't want to put you on the spot, Kevin.
Yes.
But you want to come out and jam with us?
Yeah, I mean, you've asked me before, and I've always wanted to. There's always been one or two things standing in my way from doing it. I want that chance, and God, to do it with all you wonderful lads. Like, that's the best thing about what I've learned about music is that when you're working with people that are positive like you and fun, and you're always inspired, it's a gas. There is no effort required other than just getting there. So yeah, Martin, I appreciate that. Let's do it.
Okay.
And big up to you.
And this has been really very pleasant for me, as I said at the end of 2 harrowing weeks. This has been very pleasant to chat with your familiar face, and I appreciate it.
And the same for me. I've been looking forward to this all week. So it's been great. Exactly what I hoped it would be. I love connecting with you. It's awesome. Please give all of us, all of us here, our giant hug to Charles when you see him again, or if you see
I
him,
will do. I will
and
do.
pass that on. Also, big up to Tim Gore, who's also in the hospital. Hope you get well soon, Tim. And to everybody that's in the damn hospital, like just get well.
I didn't know Tim was in the hospital. Well, send me yeah.
He's doing okay. He fell and God, he had some internal bleeding and it's like dealing with that. And so I'll keep you posted on that though.
Yeah.
But everyone have Charles and Tim and anybody else that we can think of that is currently not doing so well in your hearts and minds. It's coming up on the Christmas season. Martin, let's talk again before 10,000 years goes by again.
Sounds good to me.
All the best to you, and thank you, Patreon, for your support and bringing people like Martin Atkins in. Martin, you rule. Thank you. Have a